Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and right over there is Nikki Kinzer. Hello, Nikki.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Pete. Happy New Year.
Oh, did you have a good one? Did you do all right? Did you make it through your vacation? Did you miss me too much?
I did. That's why I'm here now.
That's why we're here, right? It's hard. And we were talking before we started about how hard it is, I think, to take a vacation well. You know, that there is this whole... it takes practice. It takes time to get into it and figure out how to do it and really start to reap the rewards of it, such that when you come back, if you finally find you're getting good at it and you are feeling yourself getting back into the mode of recapturing energy, that there is sorrow. There is a different kind of sorrow coming back to work. It's not like I missed work. Like I missed hanging out with you and podcasting.
It's not the work.
Hanging out with our community. Totally, yeah. But the idea, like I was just getting good at this other thing, right? I was just getting good at being a part of a different kind of universe, which is hard.
And there's something about just being able to know that, well, I have tomorrow. I have the next day. Like I have a few days in front of me where I'm not scheduled to do anything, where I could get some of this stuff done or do nothing or whatever. And so, it was a great break. And I do highly recommend that people deplug too, because I did go off of social media.
I noticed
and really tried not to. Yes. And I really tried not to look at my email too, because that would stir up a little bit of stress. Like, oh, I need to get back to this person. I'm like, no, my out of office is on. They know when I'm returning. It's okay. Like you have to have those conversations with yourself. But
every day, it's that's part of the mindfulness practice, is just actually telling yourself, okay, I know how to do this. I have put the pieces in place to manage my life without me in it. I can afford
take a step
to
back.
do this emotionally, intellectually, cognitively. Like I can decrease my load here because I've done the right things. And I have to remind myself, that's my constant anxiety, is what is going on when I'm away. Like something is falling apart. It's always falling.
Someone's going to be mad or I don't know, something. Yeah.
That's right.
But we are here and we are back and it's 2020.
That's right. Do you want to talk just a little bit about what we're going to do for the first 6 weeks or so this year?
Well, it doesn't start today. So it is something that we're going to end up doing after today. Because today we had to do a little bit of pre-planning. Yeah. And I wanted to talk about goals and setting up realistic goals. So today we're going to be talking about that, because I think the realistic piece is the part that we're really going to emphasize on today. But going forward in the next few weeks, we are going to do a workplace type of theme series, right? Of the workplace. And we're going to talk about different subjects, different topics that people in our Discord have been asking questions about. And we're hoping to get a few guests to come on and join us to join the conversation with us. And so we're still kind of working on what those topics are going to be and what the outline is, but it is definitely going to be all around the workplace. So we want people to stay tuned and know that that's what our focus is going to be.
Right. And so much of that was an outcome from our Q&A episode at the end of last year, which so many questions came in related to ADHD at work. So we have some folks lined up. But we're just working on scheduling right now. Scheduling is hard because everybody's back to work and the new year.
Well, and I took vacation and I didn't do any scheduling while I was on vacation.
Right.
So I have to do it all this week. so here we go.
We are back at it. We're very excited to be back at it. Before we get started today in our conversation about goal setting great goals, head over to takecontroladhd.com. You can get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show right there on the website or subscribe to the mailing list, and we'll send you an email each time a new episode is released. You can connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD, and we have this Patreon. thing. And we love Patreon so much. We love Patreon for a few reasons. The first is it is an incredible community of people who are coming together to learn more about their ADHD, about how they live with ADHD, and about developing the tools and resources and accommodations with the support of one another. We also love Patreon because if the show has ever touched you, it is a way for you to touch us. That sounds weird. You don't have to actually touch us, but you can reach out to us via Patreon. And for a few bucks a month, you can join this community. And you can, if this is the sort of thing that matters to you, you can actually give us a few bucks a month and know that you're supporting the ongoing development and the ongoing time that Nikki and I put into this show every single week. We just realize sometimes numbers actually hit us. And this morning we hit episode 415. That's 415 episodes of ADHD and very early in our careers organizing podcasting. That is all available to you. So patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. Join the community, support the ongoing development of this show. We deeply appreciate your participation there. We've talked about this topic. I was looking through our history, and we have talked about goal setting before. Goal setting is an important part of accommodations that lead to living with ADHD. Can you start by reflecting just a little bit about why you're coming back to goal setting here and how your thinking about goals has changed over the years, or if it has?
Yes, well, it definitely has, because I am certainly one of those people, and I'm sure there are lots of them listening too, where you set goals and you set all the goals at one time and you hope that they're all going to come to you at one time, and they don't. And it's very disappointing. And you kind of feel like you're on this, hamster wheel over and over and over again each year or each time you set new goals. And the reason I really wanted to talk about it right now is because it is the new year, but this is not a show about New Year's resolutions.
No.
So I want to make that very clear. You can listen to this show at any time during the year, and I hope you find it beneficial, because it's not about New Year's resolutions per se.
Can I interject there, because I have a question about that. I have a question. Yes. I'm raising my hand. Nikki Kinzer, why is this not a show about resolutions?
Well, because I think that the expectation is so high when you think, okay, it's a new you, it's a new year, it's a time to transform. I'm going to do all these great things that I've been wanting to do. And, you end up doing them for like a day or two or a week. And then they go away because they're not habits at this point. And it's a very frustrating situation. So what I want to do is I'm making it not a New Year's resolutions show, because I don't want that expectation there. I don't want that pressure there that, it's already January 10th and I haven't done anything. So I might as well just not try anymore because I've already missed 10 days. Of the new year or whatever. And again, I think that it doesn't matter what time of year it is. We all want to set goals for ourselves. And that's a good thing, whether you have ADHD or you don't have ADHD. The issue with ADHD is that we tend to want more quicker, right? We want it now. We don't want to wait. We want to go big or go home. And so there's this the waiting piece is difficult. The breaking it down is difficult to do. And so when you have ADHD, it adds a different layer where goals can become very unrealistic, even though in your heart you think they are.
Right.
So that's what I want to kind of, show some light or put some light on, is that let's set these goals, but set them in a realistic manner.
Can I tell you a story? I heard, with your permission, it's a side story.
Yes.
It's about gyms, right? So, New Year's, it's one of the biggest resolutions that people set for themselves is, I want to go to the gym. I'm going to get fit this year. I'm going to do my thing. So I was listening to the story on Planet Money that came up, and it was on the economics of today's gyms, modern gyms, that the subscription price has fallen through the floor. Like, you want to join, whatever, one of the corner store big box gyms. It's, what is it, $10 a month, $15 a month, $20 a month, whatever. Their economics are such that they need you to, 1, sign up, and 2, never show up. And here's why. Because they asked the manager of this gym, how many people could feasibly come in here when you're at max capacity with all of your equipment and everything? Everybody's using everything. And he said 300 about. And they said, now how many subscriptions do you have? 6,000.
Oh, my.
Yes. In order to keep the thing profitable based on the economy of gyms right now, they need you to feel like you are setting your resolutions, you're signing up for your yearly program, and then you don't actually show up. The economy is incenting you to fail. Right. They need you not to show up. And that's why when you walk into the brand new modern gyms, right, they come out, they used to be so proud of all of their equipment, right? You'd have the barbells right up front and the ellipticals right up front. Now, when you walk in, they did a tour of one of the newest of these gym facilities. And there was like a smoothie bar right in the front, right? And there was, there's a place, a social place, because really what they want you to do is come in, buy yourself a gym smoothie, feel like you've gotten the satisfaction, the dopamine hit of satisfying your goal of going to the gym. You did go to the gym, you drank your smoothie, and then get out because they can't afford you to stay there very long. I think that is fascinating. And that I've been noodling on that about when I think about my sort of theme for this new year and the goals that I want to set up within that sort of overarching theme. Are the goals that I am moving toward, are they smoothie goals? Right? Are they goals that just give me the dopamine push? Or are they goals that actually encourage me to go through the second set of doors and find accomplishment? So I don't know how that's going to manifest, but I find it fascinating.
I like the whole thought of, is this a smoothie goal?
Yeah. Right?
That's good. I like that. Yeah, it's very good. Well, one of the things that I want to do is review SMART goals. And
I know that's a favorite.
It is a favorite, and it's one of those things that I know for me personally, I get sick of looking at because I'm like, yeah, I know what SMART goals are.
Yeah, right.
But they really are smart. And I do want to, review what they mean because it does help when you are setting up realistic goals is to go through this process and make sure that your goal is a SMART goal. So I'm going to do that very quickly. The first one is the S, right? From SMART, S is specific. So whatever your goal is, you need it to be very direct, detailed, and meaningful. So it has to be specific. You got to know what you're doing. Measurable is the M. You want to track your progress. You want to know when you've succeeded. You want to know what those milestones look like, what progress looks like, right? So we want to know, how are you going to measure this? A, it has to be attainable. And this is where we're going to talk about today is how realistic is this? Do you have the tools that you need? Are you starting with the right amount of goals? Are you starting small, which is a big thing that we're going to be talking about? Are you starting with one thing at a time? All of these things we need to think about, is it attainable for me to actually get this goal? The R is relevant. And I think this is really important to ADHD is you have to connect your values and your motivation to your goal. And we talked about this a little bit at one of our last shows in 2019 with motivation is that you've got to connect those values. You got to look at what is important to you to your goal. And that's going to help with your motivation. So it has to be relevant. And then time-based, it needs to have a deadline. And, I think that there was a saying somewhere that a goal is just a dream if it doesn't have a deadline, it goes on the shelf or something. I can't remember what the thing is, but it's basically saying that, if you don't have a deadline, it's just going to sit on the shelf.
Right.
And so it is important that we pay attention to our goals. And I think that that's the biggest thing with ADHD is remembering them, paying attention to them, having them in front of us and focusing on one thing at a time. So this attainable piece, where do you fall? Like I've already shared that I fall into, I want everything to happen at once.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do. And that is a huge challenge for me because, and I think, generally with ADHD, the attainability part is the thing where, I will go one of two directions. One, I'll want the whole thing and I'll want it now. And if I can't have it now in the back of my lizard brain, I will go back to bed or, binge something else or whatever. Or I will fall into an unhealthy hyperfocus where I will find myself so attentive to breaking down the attainability into like a sprint goal, and then I will achieve it and then I will never do the thing again. Right. And I've used my example of like, pull-ups. Like I did the pull-up challenge years ago, and I could do 20 pull-ups in a row without touching the floor. And years go by, and now once I achieved that, I was done. Like I achieved that. So I met my goal, but I never actually got to the integrative part, which is the next sort of step, I think, for me. And that's a huge challenge.
Well, and that's a really good point because, when we look at SMART goals, we're looking at measures, right? We want something to be able to track your progress. And I think that there are different kinds of goals out there. There's the goals that really do have a start and an end, right? Like, okay, I want to organize my garage, which I have to tell everybody we started doing during my vacation. Yes.
Can I ask though, did you repair the ceiling?
Not yet.
I love that still exists there.
That
prior
still
episode,
exists.
if you go back and listen to Nikki's attic story.
But I've cleaned up everything underneath,
Good.
like
the debris,
the parts of the ceiling that fell.
Yeah.
That's all cleaned up now.
Okay, good.
So anyway, sidetrack, right? But that does have sort of a beginning and an end, but then there's a maintenance piece to it. Right. So even though we may get to a point where, okay, we're good with this, we can park our cars, whatever, there's still a maintenance that we have to talk about. So it goes further. If you're trying to do pull-ups, you had when you do a challenge, you had an end result or an end goal, right? Which resulted into 100 pull-ups a day.
No, sorry. I don't ever want to be on the right 20 in a row. And that's, I'm shot for a couple of days. So yeah. Anyway.
Well, we'll pretend that,
yes, let's pretend
20
that I
to
can
100,
do 100.
Wherever, wherever you fall. But I think you do make a really good point. It's like, okay, so am I done with this, or do I want to make this more of a lifestyle? Do I want to make this into something that's more of a habit, into a daily thing that I'm going to do pull-ups every day?
Yeah.
And so I think that when you are thinking about your goals, that is probably a very important thing to be thinking about, is what happens after you feel like you've accomplished it. And do you ever get to a point where you're fully accomplished, or is it just always progress? Because I know, like with me living a healthy lifestyle, there is no end result. It's just a matter of me feeling better. Am I doing the things that are important to me, that are going to take care of me? That's an ongoing thing, but it is a goal.
Yeah.
So we do have to kind of break that down. And I think that's part of where I want you to start, is to think about what it is that you really want. When you sign up to do a challenge, what is it that you really want from the challenge?
Right. Yeah.
Is
it a behavior change, or is it a one-time accomplishment? And I think the behavior change is the thing that's so hard for ADHD, right? It's
terribly
knowing
hard.
I have to integrate this into my life. Like I can find at some point, this is the infinite typewriters, infinite monkeys conundrum, right? Eventually, they're going to type everything in the world. Eventually, living in my house long enough, I will find a hyper-focus groove to accomplish all the one-time chores, all the one-time attainable goals. That eventually, it'll all get done, right? In the infinite timescape. But changing the way I live so that I am better attuned to do things when I want them and how I want them to be done, and not relying on just luck and happenstance to get them done, that's the hard part for me.
It is. And that's where the work has to come in. That's where the planning has to come in, the focus, all of that, breaking these things down. And so, I think that one of the biggest issues that I see with clients, especially when I first meet with clients at the very beginning, and they feel like they have a lot they want to work on. They don't know where to start because they want to do everything, right? They want everything. And so what we have to do too is really zero in on what's bugging you. What are the areas in your life that's keeping you up at night? And maybe you need to talk to somebody about this. Talk with a partner about, I really want to work on this part of my life. Let's break that down together and see what that looks like. What would have the biggest impact on you right now? So we want to be very specific. So if you're looking at ADHD characteristics, so symptoms of ADHD, things that you would like to work on. So for example, it's not being late to work anymore. Okay. So that's a specific thing. You want to make sure you're not late to work anymore. That has an impact on you. It has an impact on your, people that you work with. It's keeping you up at night because now you're worried that you're going to miss your alarm, right? I mean, all these things could be happening. So that's what we want to look at, is just getting you out the door on time. We don't need to look at time management as a whole. We don't need to look at everything that has to do with time and productivity and everything. We're just looking at that one piece. So we want to break these things down. If you're looking to lose weight, if you're looking to train for a marathon, organizing your home, whatever it is, we want to break these things down. And then what is the one area that you can work on? So if you're losing weight, can you just focus on your diet right now, your nutrition, and not worry about exercise? And I will tell people, exercise, and I care about this because it's something that I care about. So that's why I'm sharing it. If you are looking to lose weight, look at your nutrition first, because the process is 80% your food, 20% exercise. Right. So you got to get your food right first. Don't try to do both.
Right.
Especially if it's overwhelming, but get the food right and then bring in the exercise. So that's how you can bring that, to break that down.
But that's a really important thing to say. And using the exercise, it's a great example, and it's a thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand if they've never tried and failed enough times to actually ask this question: why am I not losing weight? I go to the gym every day, right?
Right.
It is because they haven't gotten to the point of asking the question, is there something else going on inside me with this process and chemistry that if I don't change what I eat, I'm not going to lose weight? And in fact, I can lose weight, and a lot of weight, by changing what I eat and not going to the gym at all. Right? I mean, that's a really important thing to be aware of, that, the exercise is great for your heart and your lungs and your brain and all of those things. But the food is what really predominantly defines your living with the weight that you live on your body. Right. I mean, that's Absolutely. Those two things. You can do those things separately, and you should do them both.
Well, and that's it, is you don't have to do them both at the same time.
Yeah.
Look at what is going to have the bigger impact. Your nutrition. Absolutely. Which is what you just said. And it's also, I've been doing intermittent fasting now for about 7 months. And that's been really helpful for me. But I'll tell you, intermittent fasting is also not going to make you lose weight if all you're eating in the time that you're allowed to eat is a bunch of junk food.
Exactly.
So again, you have to really think about your nutrition and what you're fueling your body in.
Well, and that begs the next question, which is not just if you think about it at any goal you're trying to set, right? Anything to make it attainable. Are you looking at the issue from every single angle, right? If you're not looking at your weight loss goals from every single angle, if you're only attributing your perception of going to the gym as the thing that's going to solve this problem, then you're not looking at it completely, and you probably won't have the success that you're looking to achieve. What are you trying to achieve? And are you looking at it from every possible perspective so that you understand it completely before you start the work? Right.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that I think we sometimes fail to do. And from the ADHD perspective, we fail to do it because in our minds, it's too easy to finish before we even start. Right. It's too easy for me to paint a picture in my head that satisfies that dopamine push that I've already lost the weight. I'm doing fine. I better go buy some skinny jeans because I'm already skinny in my head, and I want to be ready for Wednesday when I'm actually skinny in my bod. And so it's just everything moves way too fast. And so I think taking the time to slow down and practice sort of mindful goal setting is really helpful.
Well, and even with nutrition too, you can break that down to what's a good lunch. What are some good healthy snacks? Okay, I'm just going to focus on the snacks. I'm just going to focus on drinking more water. I mean, you can break these things down really quite small and make a huge impact and difference in your life. And once you're getting the water down, okay, then I'm going to, add some healthy snacks. Okay, well, now instead of reaching for potato chips, I'm reaching for some almonds. Okay, this is working. So, it's those small steps. And I think that I watched this video recently on Facebook, and it was really good. It was talking about how, again, our goals seem to have this end point when they really don't. And we're not recognizing the progress. So we're just assuming that if we don't get, 5 healthy, dinners, that week, that somehow we have not succeeded. But if we got 1 or 2 healthy dinners that week, we don't look at that. We're not seeing that as progress. It's all or nothing. And we know that this is a huge thing for ADHD. It's all or nothing. And so something I want to really remind folks out there that are listening is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It's progress. It's one day at a time. Whatever your goal is, you take it one day at a time and you look at that progress. So it could be just one more glass of water that day. It could be that you didn't drink any water, but you know what? You get to do it tomorrow. So now I'm going to look at tomorrow and I'm going to see some progress by focusing in on that. So it's breaking it down, paying attention to it and looking at that progress and not looking at it as just an end result or, all or nothing.
I want to take a question because I think it's a really good time for this that Melissa's just posted. And the question is this: what is a good way to see all of the angles of a goal with ADHD without getting overwhelmed at all of the steps necessary to reach a goal? I think this is a really timely question for the podcast because, it's easy for us to talk about exercise in this context, that this is a thing that we've that you and I have both dealt with, and we both failed enough times at it that we've asked that question and we've done that research and we know how it works with our own bodies. But let's take one that's not an exercise related goal. Can we break down a different goal and put some steps in place? Like, what would a practice be to actually see all those angles?
What I would say, this is where you're creating your vision of what it is that you want, right? So you're going back to that question of what is it that I really want? And so what I want you to do is imagine that there's a bridge and you're on one side of the bridge and you're looking at the other side, right? So you haven't crossed it yet. You're just looking at the other side. What does the other side look like? And you're not going to worry about how you're going to get there. And we're also not going to worry about what traffic we're going to get into when we get over there or when we're trying to get over there, or if there's an accident that happens and now we're stalled. We're not thinking about that yet. We're just thinking about what is the vision? What is it that you want? What is it that you really want? I'm going to go back to the example of I don't want to be late to work anymore.
Okay.
So we know that right now I'm late to work all the time, and it's not a lot. It's maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but it's just enough to bug people. It's just enough for people to notice. I have to ask myself some questions. What do I see around me? How am I feeling? And I want to paint a picture around what my life would look like if I was not late to work anymore. And so it may be that I'm more calm, right? I have a morning routine. Again, I say that though, and I want to be careful that we're not getting to the how yet. I just want you to look at what you want.
Well, what does it look like when I get to work, right? When I get to work, I'm sitting at my desk and I have coffee and my resources are ready and in front of me. And I am, I'm able to start answering my phone, and I have a schedule for when I'm looking at my email, and all of those things are a state, right? They're a state of practice.
And you can see that people around you are responding to you well.
Yes. Yeah. So that's really great.
Yeah. So instead of your boss kind of giving you a glare, they're actually saying, "Good morning. How are you? How was your weekend? How was your evening?"
Yeah. Right.
We have this meeting that's really important. Make sure make sure you know what you need for it or whatever. Right.
Right.
So yeah, let's pay attention to how people are responding around you and how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And write all of it down. right? There is something about the process of writing it all down in bullets, right? Because I think that is what allows you to transition to a practice and a checklist, right? Is starting to look at the things that you have done, that you have achieved in this final vision, and then back into what it would take to actually get there. In the exercise example, which I already said I didn't want to talk about again, but I'm going to do it anyway, one of the questions that would come down to that I would be writing down is, why am I not losing weight in spite of my rigorous exercise routine that I am meticulously hyper-focusing on, right? That question is what eventually led me to come to a better understanding of the chemistry of my body. And that comes off of that process of turning an end state into a set of goals.
Without that vision, too, where does that leave you? You don't really know what you want.
Exactly.
So then what does that lead? That leads to a very unspecific, too broad of goal that we can't reach because we really don't know what it is.
Right.
So, that vision is really kind of putting all of that together. And then you can start, I think what you're saying and what I would say is now you're going to figure out, how do I get to the other side of the bridge?
Yeah.
What are the things that I need to do? What kind of action needs to be taken? If you do the same things, this is what who's the famous person who said this? If you do the same things, you're going to get the same result.
Expecting different results, right? It's the definition of insanity, right? I think it's attributed to Einstein. I'm not sure anymore. I think it's one of those.
And it's so true though, right? Like we can think and plan and do the same things over and over again, but we're going to continue to get the same results if we don't get out of our comfort zone. And that's the biggest thing. And it is uncomfortable to want to go for that vision, right? Because it is something that we're not used to. It's something that is scary. And there's a lot of limiting beliefs that can come forward. I've tried it before. Why is now going to be any different? I mean, there's so much that could be going on.
Yeah.
So this is work. This is not an easy thing to do. But we got to start breaking that down and look at what is the action that is required. If you don't know about nutrition, you got to start doing some research.
Yeah.
And you got to start learning about what sugar does to your body. You have to start learning about what carbs do to your body. You have to start thinking about what happens when you're dehydrated, when you don't have the right nutrition. If you're trying to get to work on time, what do you need to do that's different in the morning? Because something's not happening.
That allows you to go through and look at every part of your morning process. Part of it may be that your energy is too low. Maybe now you have to look at your breakfast. So how do you solve your breakfast? Maybe you have to go get a NutriBullet so you can make an easy smoothie and just walk out the door with a travel mug and have a great breakfast in 5 minutes. And also you need to know where your keys are, and now you need to know where your phone is charged, and all of those sort of pieces. Like, we're going to use every part of the buffalo here, right? As we started, but it doesn't start until you actually, document that end state and build your way back into it. That I think is the lesson for me around setting attainable goals, is having a clear understanding of what I want to achieve and going through the process of documenting how I'm going to get there backwards. It's very helpful.
We have to go back to connecting our values to our motivation. What is driving you to do this? Internally, externally, how is your life going to be different if you have this in your life? And what is the cost if you're not working on your goal? If you're going to continue doing the same things all the time, the way that you've been doing them, what's the cost to that? So we need to put all of those together, the vision, document it, and why it's important. And then we also need to start documenting the action steps too, right? Because those are the things that get really lost, because if they're not in front of us, we don't do them. So it's important. Something that I've done with a coach that I worked with earlier in 2019 is I write these goals down, and as I continue to work on them, because they're progress goals. right? Then I'm able to continue to think of ways of how am I going to remember to do this? Do I need to put a glass of water, next to my sink so I remember to take my vitamins in the morning? Whatever it might be, you have to have these little tools and triggers and reminders to remind you what those small steps are. And that's part of the work. And again, we talked a long time ago about building mini habits, and Stephen Geis has a great book about mini habits and how you can start with one push-up, you can start with one healthy meal, and that's really what I believe in, is that you've got to start small, build it up, and keep recognizing the progress that you're making. And then when you get to the other side and you feel really good about it, I think you also have to be okay with relapsing, right? But knowing that you can get back on, that even if you have a couple weeks when you were on vacation and you didn't pay attention to this, or you had a couple of emergencies that happened in the morning and you were late, that doesn't have to determine the future. You can get back into your routines. You can get back into focusing on what's important and review these things, review the documentation, which is why it's so important you document.
And keep it present in front of you. I feel like that's one of those things that goes. I know with ADHD, nothing goes without saying. It also doesn't go without writing it down. And I have
you got to remember
whiteboard right by my desk here, and it's just something that I keep these goals and themes and checklists that I'm in process. Always just write them down. Keep a note open,
absolutely,
so that you can practice this stuff. This is good stuff, and what a great way to start our year.
Yes.
Hopefully the conversation inspires some of you to take on something new, hopefully in a new way, looking at every part of the buffalo. Every part of the buffalo.
Every part of it.
Yeah. Thank you.
There you go. And in the next few weeks, we'll be talking more about the workplace. So don't forget to come back and listen to us
Write it
about
down.
The workplace.
Go listen to Pete and Nikki. That's it. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for downloading and listening to this show. We appreciate your time and your attention this fine 2020. Happy New Year. And on behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. We'll see you next time right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.